Welcome back to another video, guys. Today I just wanted to talk about my experience with road tripping and being on the road. Anyways, so we'll get straight into it. The first thing with road tripping is obviously buying a car or something to road trip in and travel in. And some tips for that is definitely buy something with lower Ks if you can. You might have to spend more, but in the long run, it's very, very beneficial. So I purchased my car with 115,000 Ks and it's 17 years old. So I got pretty lucky with that. But with that said, I had to work on it a fair bit, but I wouldn't hesitate to drive from here to Darwin. And secondly, having all the gear and what you need to be on the road. So when I leave my hometown and I go wherever I'm going, I have staples that I always bring with me. So I always bring my swag in case I need to set up somewhere, because currently I don't have the bed set up in the van. Swag, camp chair or chairs in general, an esky, and a sleeping bag. They're three staples. So no matter where I end up, I can always have some food, and I can always find somewhere to sleep and whatnot. Another thing that a lot of people that road trip tend to fall short on is having backup parts for your car and having stuff to service it on the roads, because often you'll go 5,000 Ks and then decide to go further and further and it needs a service. And obviously out in the middle of nowhere or in rural towns, you'll get charged like crazy for simple parts. So I always try and bring small stuff with me. So having excess oil, fuel filter, oil filter, etc. Nothing too complex, just something that you can maintain the car yourself. Gives you that bit of an upper hand instead of going into a workshop in a rural place. So it definitely saves me. And also just being on the road itself, it's definitely one of those things you either hate it or you love it. But for me personally, I have driven about 22 hours straight, which is pretty crazy. Obviously stopping, getting food and whatnot, but just being on the road for extended amounts of time, and you just listen to your music. And that's another one, you gotta have good music. Definitely something uplifting I recommend, because obviously you got to stay alert, you got to be concentrated the whole time. But also something that I forgot on my first road trip, well, not forgot, but I looked down upon a little bit, was bringing excess food and drinks on the road, because I obviously thought that when I stop at a servo for fuel, I'd grab drinks and whatnot. But buying drinks, obviously on the road at service stations and whatnot, costs so much over time. When you're doing 2,000 Ks in one trip, you'll end up spending over $300 just on food and snacks. So before my last couple of trips, I stocked up. So I had all the snacks that I know I'd want, all drinks, whatever it is, energy drinks, Gatorades and whatnot. Having that all there, just when you're on the road, not having to stop, is such a luxury. I can't recommend that anymore. So be stocked up to go further, and be stocked up so that you can have stuff on the road. And onto the final little tip or pointer from my experience road tripping is, I've done most of my trips on my own, being on the road on my own, not necessarily where I end up, but driving the section on my own in my own car. One is always keep the doors locked, especially driving at night, because being alone, it's just another precaution you should take. And even I do that driving even in normal suburbs in my own town. I've had a lot of times where things have not added up. I'm not going to go too much into detail because I wanted to keep this video short, but times where having someone else there would be good, as a lot of people target road trippers and people that are not from Australia because they can take advantage of them. Definitely be smart on the roads, and especially when driving in rural towns late at night and places that are out far, to be extra precautious, because not even with safety, but just driving in general, because I was in some roads about 50, 60 k's out of the nearest town, and if I had got a puncture out there, obviously I can replace it. Obviously I can put the spare tire back in, but with that being said, I'm in the middle of nowhere in like this forest, and you sort of don't want to be out and about doing stuff like that. So be cautious and look ahead on the maps. Don't just set a map and follow it. Look ahead, see where you go through, see where you can get fuel, see places you can stop, see free rest areas if you want to stop up. Myself, I haven't always followed that, and it has not always ended up the best for me because it's been 10:30, 11 at night and I've got nowhere to stop. There's no 24-hour servos near me, and caught up in a little bit of a pickle. But definitely look ahead where you're driving and see towns and see places that you can stop or points of information and whatnot. And adding on to what I said before with the music, having a good playlist and having music downloaded, because often you won't have reception, is such a big tip and something that changes the whole road trip and the drive itself. So having all different types of genres. So obviously if you had only one genre downloaded like I did once, you get so sick of it to the point where you don't even want to listen to it anymore, and it sucks. So definitely have a lot of downloaded music, a lot of different genres. And for the final point, obviously if you have a license, for example in New South Wales or Melbourne, and you're driving out of that state, you're going to go through tolls, and they don't link up to your e-tag or whatever it's called in each state, and you will get a fine in the mail. It's not expensive. I think it's $16 for each one you go through. But obviously when you go through state after state back and forth and you get back to your hometown and you've got like $200 worth of fines, when you go through the e-tag or the checkpoint for driving on certain highways and freeways, call them up as soon as you can and get that sorted, because you obviously won't get that fine. And by calling up, you can get it transferred to your state, so it just evens it out. But by not transferring it is when you get the fine, and it's a bit of a pain in the ass. But it is what it is. I've made the mistake a couple times. Anyways, guys, I just realized watching back that clip, it was super grainy and foggy. I'm not sure why. When my camera gets low on charge, it starts doing that, but it is what it is. It's the first time seeing sun in about 5 days up in Byron now. So hopefully it hangs around for a bit, but it is flooding everywhere around here. So hopefully nothing bad happens here, but I guess we'll wait and see. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.